Yeah, do you want to see me do it?
Yes.
His eyebrows. Did you see any of that?
I didn't. I completely forgot.
That is
I didn't
some
get
bullshit.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Oh my God.
Do it again. Do it again. Do it again. Good afternoon and welcome to Oddball. I'm Amin Elhassan and I'm joined as always by Charlotte Wilder. This week we celebrate the enshrinees of the 2023 Hall of Fame class. A little bit later, a retrospective on the career of Pau Gasol, Laker, Grizzly. But first, the headlines.
Thanks, Amin. Anthony Davis has agreed to a 3-year, $186 million maximum contract extension with the Lakers through 2028 for a total of $270 million. The only thing that didn't need to be extended? His eyebrows.
The Daryl Morey-James Harden relationship is reportedly over. According to Mike Scotto of Hoops Hype, it's been a while since the two have spoken, and their relationship is reportedly done. Apparently, this came after the best the Sixers offered was a 2-year deal with a team option on the second year. And that type of short-term commitment wasn't going to sit well with Harden.
Hey, what's going on? Did Harden skip Morey's wedding too? This man is losing friends faster than Netflix.
I don't get that reference.
Do we have a graphic?
It was, yeah, okay. Oh, well done. Chris Paul held his annual Chris Paul Elite Guard Camp this past weekend.
Wow, really rolls off the tongue.
Where the nation's top high school guards came together for some advanced tutelage from the point guard himself, learning the nuances and tricks of the trade that they could only learn from a first ballot Hall of Famer. And our crack research staff has actually gotten a hold of the camp itinerary. Throw that on the screen right there. Yeah, there it is. Day 1, registration for all invited players. Check in, receive gear, headshots, media interviews, opening remarks, warm up and stretching and shooting. Okay. Day 2, intro to belittling and alienating teammates. Day 3, advanced boring commercial creation brought to you by State Farm. Day 4, intro to nut shots. And closing remarks, and oh, that's nice. They get an ice cream social. In an interview with Joe Vardon of The Athletic, Paolo Banchero revealed what was behind his abrupt decision to abandon playing for the Italian national team in favor for Team USA, citing, among other factors, the recruitment efforts of Team USA managing director and fellow Dookie, Grant Hill. When asked for comment, Italian national team head coach Giancarlo Pozzecco responded, "Vaffanculo, bastardo, mi hai fregato." Don't Google Translate that one.
I'm not going to Google it, but it sounds bad and also made up. On Saturday, the Cleveland Cavaliers' Ricky Rubio announced that he was putting his career on hold indefinitely to focus on his mental health. And that's it. That's the headline. Were you expecting a joke? We're not monsters.
Shame on you, audience. Shame on you. After making his first career three-pointer in a tune-up exhibition game for Team France, Rudy Gobert revealed that it felt like, quote, having sex for the first time. That would explain why he lit a cigarette afterward. I just thought that was because he's French or something.
Well, it makes sense because Gobert looked confused and it was certainly anticlimactic.
That explains why he's never comfortable scoring.
He's not going to want to do it again now, is he? Gross.
Wait till he discovers what 3-and-D is.
In that same vein, over the weekend, Grady Dick was seen partying at the Caravana Festival in Toronto. I'm going to regret this, and if any of you take it and clip it out of context, I will personally hunt you down, but we're going to need more dick pics.
I get it. She said vain. Jaren Jackson Jr. said the Grizzlies need to navigate being without John Morant during his suspension across the first 25 games of the upcoming season. Morant, of course, suspended for having a second incident on Instagram Live where he was caught brandishing a firearm. Gun to my head, I think they'll be fine.
No, I'm not associated with that.
That's a saying, Charlotte. It's a saying. Relax.
Yeah. Okay, sure. Michael Jordan recently said thank you, but not goodbye, to Charlotte after the Hornet sale was completed. And you know what, Mike? You're welcome, and I'll see you later. Not again.
I get it. And those are the headlines. Coming up next, we look back at the career of Pau Gasol. Transformative, champion, obstinate. Don't go anywhere. It's Oddball. Pau Gasol enters the Hall of Fame as one of the most decorated international players in NBA history. A 6-time NBA All-Star and 4-time All-NBA selection, Gasol was a perfect blend of IQ, skill, and length, dominating around the basket with either hand, while also being able to step away from the paint and punish defenses from the outside. Following a dominant career with his hometown club of Barcelona that saw him win the Spanish ACB League title 3 times, Gasol was drafted in 2001 by the Atlanta Hawks and traded in a draft day deal to the Memphis Grizzlies, where he'd win Rookie of the Year, becoming the first foreign-born NBA player to do so. He would go on to play 6.5 seasons in Memphis, including an All-Star campaign in 2006, the first in franchise history, before being traded to Los Angeles for a package including the rights to his brother, Marc Gasol, marking the first time in American professional sports history that brothers had been traded for one another. As a Laker, Gasol would enjoy his most successful stint of NBA play, earning 5 more All-Star nods in the purple and gold and winning back-to-back titles alongside Kobe Bryant in 2009 and 2010. His skill set proved to be the perfect complement to head coach Phil Jackson's vaunted triangle offense. Following his time with the Lakers, Gasol would go on to play for the Bulls, Spurs, Bucks, and Blazers, before finally returning to his native Barcelona for one final season. In international play, Gasol was a cornerstone for Spain's surge as the closest thing to a rival for USA national team basketball, capturing a World Cup gold in 2006, 3 Eurobasket golds in 2009, 2011, and 2015, and silver medals at the 2008 and 2012 Olympic Games. He was also named World Cup MVP in 2006 and MVP of Eurobasket in 2011 and 2015. Pau Gasol, welcome to basketball immortality.
Wow, did the Hall of Fame commission you to make that?
Yeah, I'm available for hire. I'll just put it out there.
That's an absolutely remarkable career. And you were with the Suns when Pau was traded to the Lakers. Mm-hmm. And you guys obviously played against him. What was it? What was it like going up against him as a player?
So it was really weird because that trade was really controversial at the time. The Lakers, people don't remember this. The Lakers had started the season. They were not doing great. Kobe Bryant was very upset that he wasn't getting any help from his front office. Uh-huh. He famously made a trade demand before the season started to a kid on a cell phone in a parking lot. Back when cell phone video was still like, what? Like a kid had a camera on his phone that had video. So this was kind of Mitch Kupchak in that Lakers front office like, oh, we got to, get off the pot moment. And so they traded the players that were in the deal.
And this is Memphis. Pau's with Memphis at the
Memphis,
time.
Which, by the way, if you want to take it back even further, he was originally an Atlanta Hawk draft pick, and he got traded on draft day to Vancouver turned Memphis,
right?
Because Atlanta was acquiring Sharif Abdul-Rahim, who at that point was like an up and coming player, but also he was an Atlanta native. So Atlanta was like, we don't want this Spanish kid. Give us the hometown kid who's been in the league and has proven himself to be a pretty good player, which, in retrospect now you're like, oh, wow, you gave up a Hall of Famer.
Right.
But, he goes to Memphis, and he's a good player in Memphis. He's a one-time All-Star. By the way, that trade from Atlanta to Memphis, that draft day trade, that happened while I was working for the Hawks in my first job.
No way.
Yeah.
What did you think? Were you like, this is, nobody knew?
To me, first of all, I was a dumb kid at the time, so I wasn't out here doing international scouting or anything. I worked in the arena, I think, at that point. But Sharif was a big deal. Sharif was like, oh,
from Atlanta, and he's coming home, and like this is going to be a move that's going to push the Hawks forward for someone who's ready to play and compete right now. And he's a pro, and he's a great guy, whatever. So I thought I liked it at the time, but again, I didn't have anywhere near a sophisticated palate. It's like, this is red wine, ain't it? Like that's where I was at. So fast forward, he goes to Memphis. He plays very, very well. He's an all-star, but Memphis is kind of hitting that plateau of like, we're not good enough to compete. And so they start like looking for deals, and they end up striking a deal with the Lakers, who send Kwame Brown, Javaris Crittenden.
Oh my God.
Yes, that Javaris Crittenden.
No way.
Yes, and the draft rights to a fat center from Barcelona named Marc Gasol. Like, Marc was a second-round pick of the Lakers, and he had shown like skill in Europe playing for Barcelona. He went to high school in Memphis because he's Pau's little brother. But he was a big fat kid, right? And it was kind of like, okay, how is he going to deal with NBA athleticism? No one really knew kind of what it was. So at the time, it was like, wait a second. You just traded Kwame Brown, who everyone knew at that point was a major bust. Javaris Crittenden, who wasn't proving to be anything special. And the draft rights to the guy's fat younger brother for a guy who's an all-star, we were all outraged that like that deal could happen. What was Memphis doing? You just basically gift wrapped the Lakers' dominance, because what Kobe really needed was another star player to play alongside him. At this time, at this point, he's got Lamar Odom, who's skilled but kind of always been maybe an underachiever is a way to put him. And Andrew Bynum was young at that time. He was coming into his own, but so that deal we all knew immediately, oh, the Lakers they're going to be great.
Right.
The crazy thing is, in retrospect now, given the career that Marc had in Memphis, like the deal's not quite as crazy as it seemed at the time.
Do you think they saw something in Marc that they were like, this is actually a much smarter move than people are giving us credit for?
I think that's a great question. Yes, they saw something, but also Marc lost weight. Marc, like, he physically transformed himself.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's something that you can bank on when you're getting someone. So there was definitely some hope.
Right.
A little bit of hope in that. And
but it was also like, we got to get rid of our superstar because we're not.
Because we're not going anywhere.
Right.
We had to kind of do the reset. I just felt like they could have got more and way more.
Yeah.
And from a bunch of teams. I mean, I thought like, hell, like, were we ever an option? Because I would do that, right?
The Suns, you mean?
Yeah, the Suns. So, but the crazy thing, like I said, in retrospect, like it didn't turn out to be that lopsided in terms of what Memphis got.
Right.
At the totality at the end of it. But at the time, like it was kind of ridiculous.
So once Pau's with the Lakers, you guys have to deal with him.
Yeah.
What was that like?
So this was the triangle offense requires, one of the biggest things it requires, people don't really realize it, you need good passing bigs to run the triangle well. Because they got a bunch of stuff out of what they call the pinch post, right? And they got these center opposite, and that's like all these different things where the ball actually goes to the big man first. And that was kind of the thing with the Bulls that like took the Bulls from the ball's in Michael Jordan's hands, he's got to do everything, to, okay, we're going to throw it to Bill Cartwright. We're going to throw it to Luke Longley.
Yeah.
And then Michael's going to move off ball, and that's going to make him harder to guard, but it's also making everybody else active. But like it starts with, I have a good passing big, right?
Right.
It's, by the way, the same elements that when you look at the Warriors, especially early on when they have Andrew Bogut, and they're throwing the ball to Andrew Bogut, and they do what they call the split cuts, where Curry sets a screen for Clay as Bogut's got the ball, and then like they each go a different way, and the defender's like, what do I do?
Right.
Which one do I guard? Which one do I switch to?
Right.
Like that's all kind of triangle-ish offense, but again, it's the idea like, hey, my center is a great passer.
Yeah.
So they have Lamar Odom, who's a great passer, but he's a backup, right?
Yeah.
So you bring in Pau Gasol, and he's a starter, and now you got two guys you could throw on either elbow, and now they're both doing this passing stuff. And so it helped Kobe embrace triangle more than what he was doing prior to that deal. Because prior to that deal, he was like, I've got to do everything myself.
Right.
And now you got this guy who's smart. And then, like, no lie, I tell people all the time, like, look, Kobe was such a headache to try to defend. Literally, a lot of our planning in the off season, as far as like what our roster needs, centered around two things: How do we stop Kobe? How do we stop Timmy, Manu, and Tony Parker? Like, those were our biggest headaches.
Yep.
Everything else, we felt like, we'll figure it out. But, like, those are like, we need personnel that can help us against this. And then towards like the end of us being good, and we started, my guy David Griffin, who was the assistant GM at the time.
Yeah, we talked to him.
We talked to him in Summer League, which was
yesterday?
A couple of days. Yeah. The advent of like, hey, there's this new breed of player who's like 6'10", 6'11", but is like a wing.
Yeah.
As a perimeter player. We need to start planning for that. I remember,
wow.
Sure enough, like Kevin Durant, and Dirk was kind of the first, but then all of these guys where it's like, you need someone who's 6'10", 6'11", but moves like a guard.
Right.
That started like in 2009. Griffin started talking about like, we need to address this, right? But the main thing was like, who we're gonna get who's gonna help us guard Kobe, who we're gonna get to help us fight against
the Spurs.
The Spurs, right?
Yeah.
When you throw in Pau Gasol, the headache that Kobe remains, right? Like it's if anything has gotten greater.
Right.
Kobe's gotten greater as a headache. But then it's like, I gotta worry about this guy too.
Right.
And so we often would just, at least on my end, like I just felt like the deflation of like, oh, here comes Pau. Right. Because you're trying to do all these different things, and all 5 players on the court are having to track where Kobe is. We're helping, we're covering, we're switching. And then it's like, so now Pau, who went from Memphis, where he was the star player there, but like everything was on him. So all the game plans defensively focused on him.
Now he's more free and more dangerous.
Now he's playing one-on-one coverage.
Yeah.
One-on-one distracted coverage. Because even the guy guarding him was like, where's Kobe going, right?
Right.
And so his ability to catch it and then like get one dribble and be at the front of the rim, and he's so long, like he could finish from over people and around people, and people called it a finesse game, but that's bullshit. It was every bit as devastating as someone dunking on you every possession.
Right, it felt that bad.
because these were high percentage shots he was making, right?
Yeah.
And it's funny, at that point in his career, his jump shot was dependable, but didn't really go out beyond like 15, 16 feet.
Okay.
And later on, when Mike D'Antoni becomes the coach of the Lakers, he tells Pau, hey, you need to be able to shoot threes. You need to be able to space the floor. And Pau famously didn't like that. He's grumbling because he's like, under Phil Jackson, I played here and these are my spots.
Right.
But Mike played a spread offense. He didn't want anyone clogging the paint area.
Yeah.
So he didn't have as many post-ups. He's like, look, I need you to pick and pop to give Kobe space to operate. Pau resisted it and he was just dumb. And then the crazy thing is later in his career when he goes to Chicago, when he goes to San Antonio, he embraces it and actually becomes a really good three-point shooter, and it gives his career great longevity. So this thing that he was so sure was dumb actually adds like 5 years at the back end of his career. And the irony is the same thing happened with Marc Gasol. When David Fizdale comes to Memphis, Mark, who had been accustomed to playing on the block, him and Zebo, grit and grind. David Fizdale comes to modernize Memphis's offense. He tells Mark, I need you to be able to shoot threes. And Mark says, this is dumb. I don't know why I'm doing this. So Mark gets to Toronto and becomes what? A pick and pop three-point shooter.
I was going to say an NBA champion.
And becomes an NBA champion as well. So I guess like the stubbornness for what's good for you runs in the Gasol family.
Yeah. Wow. What's one thing about Pau that you don't think is reflected in the box score? That, like, talking about how great he was, the ephemeral stuff or the stuff that fans remember him for.
Like super fans will remember this, but maybe some people watching this won't. He wanted to be a doctor.
No way.
He wanted to go to med school and he wanted to be a doctor, and he was like a lot of his charitable work was like Doctors Without Borders and stuff like that, because Pau was like, okay, I'm going to play a few years for Barcelona where he's from, and it's a prestigious club in Europe, and he said, and when that's done, I'm gonna go to med school, finish up my med degree, and then be a doctor. And then of course he gets drafted, he goes to the NBA, and he has this amazing career, makes a lot of money, and it's like, maybe there's other ways I can help doctors that aren't necessarily.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Wow. Good for Pau.
Good for Pau, absolutely.
What was his, I didn't come up as entrenched in the basketball world as you did. What was his, Was he mouthy? Was he like in guys' faces or?
No, I mean he was a passionate player, like a lot of screaming and like what do they call primal roars after big plays, but wasn't really a trash talker. And if anything, like again, like finesse and soft and all these things were terms that came up a lot. I'm sure if we had our buddies Kevin Garnett and Kendrick Perkins here, they'd have some choice words about him from a toughness standpoint.
Yeah.
I didn't buy into any of that.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it stems from Kobe wanting him to be more aggressive. There was a whole, like, that was around the time the movie Black Swan came out with Natalie Portman. And Kobe called him a black swan or whatever, and or you got to bring out the black swan. Or, like, Kobe was weird like that sometimes. He'd watch a movie or read a book, and then, like, the things that Kobe would watch, nature documentaries of, like, leopards hunting, and it's like I try to incorporate.
Like be a leopard.
Like incorporate the moves, like, and I don't know. Some of this stuff sounds like
legend, but also
like not that it didn't happen, that he didn't say those things, but it's also like it's the kind of stuff you say and it grows and it becomes a thing, but it's not actually real. So like,
totally.
Was Pau Gasol hyping himself up before every game? I'm like, I've got to be a black swan today. I don't think so.
Like writing in the mirror with the black lipstick.
Yeah, but
that's so funny.
But for sure, that was something that, like that thing dogged him, and the reality is, all you got to do is see what he did in a Spanish national team uniform.
Yeah.
Right. I think when you talk about Team USA, from Redeem Team 2008 until for that next decade, where USA basketball dominance had returned in the Olympics and in the World Cup and all, the biggest threat every year was Spain, because Spain was one of the few teams that had like a bunch of dudes who were NBA players, more than 3 or 4, like 7, 8 guys who were NBA players. Yeah. And they played together. They grew up together, so they had a chemistry.
Like the Canada of today, sort of?
Yeah. It's like all these guys know each other. They play with one another. And so they're not as like disjointed or kind of pick up ball like Team USA was. Right. And so they pushed. You watched that 2008 gold medal game. Yeah. Like, USA won, and they managed to pull away, but they played Spain twice. And in the first game, there's a famous story about Kobe saying, the first play of the game, they're going to run this down screen for so-and-so, and Pau's going to set the screen. And Kobe says, let me be the guy who guards so-and-so. And so, sure enough, they run the play. And by the way, 2008 Redeem Team, I did advanced scouting work for it. So hey. You're welcome, America. I gave you a gold medal. So Pau sets the down screen, and the guy comes off it, and Kobe literally trucks Pau.
No way.
Like, doesn't even make an attempt to, like, skirt it or shoot the gap or whatever. Yeah. He literally runs right through his chest, blows him up football style, lifting Pau off his feet on the ground. And it was all about, like, sending the message.
Totally.
Like, yeah, we're teammates, and we went to the finals a couple months ago, and that was cool. I'm here to annihilate you. And so it was like Spain got their ass kicked in that game. But then when they came to the gold medal game, it was a much closer game, because I think Pau at that point understood, he's not my friend and my teammate. This guy's, he's out for blood, and so I have to be out for blood too. That's
such a Kobe.
Yeah.
But that's like, if someone didn't know anything about Kobe Bryant, just tell them that, and it's like, oh, okay, that's who it was. What do they do in spring? Do they go out? They have parties?
So I've only been to one. The one I went to was because I knew a lot of people were getting enshrined. It was Steve Nash, it was Grant Hill, it was Rick Welts, it was Jason Kidd. And so, they have obviously the pre-ceremony mixer for everybody, and then they have the ceremony. And after the ceremony, everyone kind of has their own individual stuff. Yeah. So, like, I found myself in a weird position, like Zach Morris and Saved by the Bell. Like, I got to go to this party and this party at the same time, and so.
What a great problem to have. Yeah. Just trying to think of where in Springfield, Mass. is like the hip spots.
Well, Grant Hill rented out the actual Hall of Fame, and.
All right, that's a hip spot.
Yeah, had a DJ
Pretty
there
hip spot.
And stuff like that. Steve Nash went to the basement of a dive bar in Hartford, which is 20, 30 minutes away. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And it was funny to see, like, we're in the basement and Dirk Nowitzki's there, literally can't stand up because the ceiling is too low. to his head.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, hey, no ceiling's too low for Pau Gasol. Too high?
Thanks for watching Oddball. I'm gonna get Pablo's budget.
God, I wish.